Nerds, this is Chris, and this is going to be my Game of Thrones Season 6 trailer breakdown. Yes, HBO finally dropped a trailer. I actually thought it would come out about a week from now when the DVD for Season 5 comes out. But nevertheless, this trailer is badass. It's got a lot of stuff in it, a lot of cool scenes, a lot of things to talk about. And keep in mind potential spoilers, I will be referencing some book stuff because they are circling back around and doing some book stuff. So if you want to go into Season 6 not knowing a damn thing about these scenes and what they may mean and what's going on, go ahead and click away, Hodor.
World was on fire, no one could save me but
So yeah, this trailer is badass. This got me pumped up. I haven't been this excited about a Game of Thrones season since, well, probably Season 5. You get the point. Even the music's badass. And for those that may ask, the music in this trailer is called Wicked Game. It's an updated version of an older song. It fits this trailer perfectly. So let's jump right in. We start off with a nice shot of the wall as we zoom in the Castle Black, and we see Jon laying there in the snow. And we pick up right where we left off in Season 5 where he had just gotten stabbed and bled out apparently. This is obviously before they find his body as far as the people who actually give a shit about finding his body. And what's interesting throughout this trailer, I'll go ahead and say up front, is that Davos is in this trailer associated with Jon throughout it when we do see Jon. So I think this kind of sets up that Davos may end up being Jon's kind of right-hand man like he was to Stannis, because Davos at this point is thinking, what the hell am I supposed to do now? Because in this first scene where we see Jon's body, it seems to be Davos saying he's gone. So he's telling this to, obviously, people who still care for Jon. He's maybe the one who actually finds his body. And then we jump over to a shot of Jaime coming back from Dorne with Myrcella's body. Obviously, at this point, Cersei doesn't know she's dead yet. And immediately from there, we go to Jaime and Cersei talking. And he's basically saying, we're going to take everything back. All that shit they've taken from us, we're taking it all back and more. So it looks like that Jaime and Cersei is going to kind of become close again for a little while before she loses her shit and goes crazy. Because then we see, during that conversation, we see a shot of Cersei standing there, and it looks to be like at the docks, probably right before Jaime arrives. She probably knows he's coming, sees the ship coming, and she probably is looking forward to seeing him and her daughter Myrcella again before she gets the bad news. So yeah, you know, she's kind of human. And then we jump over to Davos in the north, and it looks like he's standing here in front of a pile of wood. Perhaps this is a funeral pyre or something meant to be a funeral pyre for Jon Snow's body. He's probably reminiscent about Shireen and perhaps Stannis and everything that's gone wrong and all the shit he's done to follow Stannis through hell and back. And he's still alive. Stannis and Shireen are dead, and he's probably wondering what the hell to do now. So this is obviously before that he finds out that Jon's some super magical dude who's really important to our story. And then we jump over to our favorite bastard in the north, Ramsay Bolton. He looks to be having an oh shit moment. This looks to be the moment that he's either telling his dad, Roose, or Roose is telling him that Sansa is missing. And he's having an oh shit moment because, first of all, Sansa to him as a wife is his key to the north. Not to mention that Fat Walda is pregnant with a potential male heir for Roose, so he's really worried at this point. So this is going to make him go insane. Not that he can get any crazier, but send all his hunting parties and dogs and stuff after Sansa and Theon. But yeah, he looks a little worried. And then we jump over to a display of power on the Bolton's part. This is probably right after the battle with Stannis last season. We see an upside down cross, somebody's burning on it. It's hard to say who that is because they have no fucking skin. This may be Stannis if they found his body in the woods, but Bran probably cut his head off on that tree. And this person obviously has a head still attached, even though they have no skin. So it's probably not Stannis. We are told, as Val and I mentioned in our predictions videos, that we have two characters that are going to be flayed and burned this year on a cross. So we don't really know who this is, you know, because it's hard to tell without any skin. But we zoom into the flames there, and it jumps right over to Melisandre, our favorite pyromaniac witch, and she's talking to Davos and actually crying, saying, you know what? All this shit was a lie. Technically, though, it's not a lie. She was just following the wrong person. Then we see Jorah and Dario, who left Meereen last year, and they are on the hunt for Dany, and they come across the area where she was picked up by the Khalasar, and it looks like Mr. Friendzone finds Dany's breadcrumb, the ring that she dropped off her finger last year, and they get a clue as to where she's going to be. And then we see a shot of Dany walking with a shit ton of people, and it looks to be heading to Vas Dothrak. She comes across a horse statue on the side of the mountain there. She looks up at it, and she's probably thinking, oh shit, you know, I don't want to spend the rest of my life beside a lake being a crone, advising cows on how to damn, you know, rape and pillage and plunder and all that good shit. But to me, this is actually part of Quaith's prophecy from the books, where she says, in order to go forward, you must go backwards. I think this is what this means. I think she's got to kind of go back to her roots a little bit when she started, where she kind of became a woman in her own right. She kind of learned to be a queen as far as being Khaleesi. And I think this definitely is the part of the prophecy from Quaith, at least in the books. She must go back to where she came from in order to move forward. Although she will have bigger problems when she crosses over to Westeros, she just doesn't know it yet. But keep in mind the amount of people you see here in this shot. That's a lot of damn people. Now, those are not even the Khalasar warriors. Those are just the common people, and they will all be hers. And as we see that shot of Dany, we hear the High Sparrow talking, and he's saying we're all poor and powerless, but we can overthrow an empire. No, you can't. Not really. I mean, if you think about it, you know, you just got a bunch of guys with clubs and sticks and no armor, and you really can't overthrow people who are trained warriors. Although you do have a few trained knights that went over to the faith, you really can't really do anything about it. But he'll try. He'll give, you know, maximum effort. But what's interesting here is it looks like he's talking to a member of the Kingsguard. You can tell by the shoulder armor. I was thinking this may be Jaime after he gets back and puts this Kingsguard garb back on. Was also thinking this could be actually Frankenmountain, Sir Robert Strong, but it doesn't look like he's big enough. He's not looking up high enough to be talking to him, but if it is him, this is probably right before the High Sparrow dies. And this is where we get into a little bit of book stuff here. The next shot is of the Ironborn back on the Iron Islands, and this is Aeron Damphair, or Aeron Greyjoy, and he is the brother to Euron Greyjoy, who we'll talk about in a minute, as well as Balon Greyjoy, Theon's father, who will have been killed at this point because this is the King's move. This is where the Ironborn essentially choose their own king. Since they are still in actual open rebellion against the throne, being Tommen, they're going to choose their own king again, and this is where Euron comes in. And then we see a shot of Sansa. Now, Sansa looks great here compared to the way she looked coming out of the pictures they released earlier for the season where her and Theon are escaping. That was still obviously right after she had been beaten by Ramsay. They've probably been out in the elements for a while, but now she's all cleaned up. So I'm thinking here that she's probably at the last hearth, and that will be the seat of House Umber. House Umber is another northern house that's always supported the Starks to get help, perhaps on her way to find Jon at the wall at Castle Black. But either way, I had said in a prediction video with Val from Because Geek,
Jon,
that I think she's probably going to want to head to Jon first, but probably runs into the Umbers or somebody on the way. But I think Sansa is going to be a player this year finally. She may become Darth Sansa we all want to see. And as a matter of fact, during this shot, we hear Tyrion start to voice over there and say, "You're in the great game now." And the great game is terrifying. So that kind of points to her being a power player this year, finally. And then, of course, we go to Tyrion himself, and he looks to be in a dark room with a torch. And I think, like I said in our predictions video, that he is in the dragon pit, and he will be the one to release Rhaegal and Viserion. Because he don't look too comfortable there. He's looking like, what the hell am I getting myself into? And speaking of dragons, immediately after that shot, we do see a dragon flying. Now, this may be Drogon back in action, maybe flying down to rescue Dany, or it could be Viserion and Rhaegal starting to wreak havoc in Meereen. And this is where this damn trailer gets good. Lancel Lannister standing there with his faith militant buddies and their nice forehead tattoos or branding, and he's like, "Tell your man to move aside or there will be violence." And Cersei says, "I choose violence, motherfucker," as it shows Frankenmountain standing there beside her. So yeah, there will be blood. Because yeah, there's no way that this little group of ragtag dudes with some robes on and a few chains, maybe some clubs, even possibly some swords, is getting through a 7-foot-tall Frankenstein with some damn armor on. And then we go to a flashback, and this is going to be one of Bran's flashbacks, and it's going to be the most important flashback of probably the entire series, and that is the Tower of Joy. This is a younger Ned Stark with 5 other people in this case. Now, in the book flashbacks, it's 6 other people for a total of 7 against 3. This is when Ned and his companions went down to find Lyanna at the Tower of Joy, where apparently she had a baby, we all think it's Jon Snow, goes up against the Kingsguard, who is still guarding Lyanna and perhaps the prince who was promised on behalf of Rhaegar Targaryen. So this should be pretty damn epic to finally go back and see what the hell's been going on and put together some pieces we've been missing and confirm a few things. So in our next shot, we see a member of the Night's Watch trying to get through a door with an axe, and we also see Alistair Thorne there. So these are the bad guys of the Night's Watch that killed Jon Snow, and they're probably trying to break into the room where his body is now being held. They want to burn him. They know he's going to turn into a white, or they think he's going to turn into a white, so they're probably trying to break into the room because at this point, Melisandre's probably figured something out and let Davos know, along with Jon's other companions, that I can bring this motherfucker back. So they're probably trying to get in there to burn his body while they're trying to protect his body because it probably has to be intact and whole for her to do whatever the hell she's going to do. Then we see a quick shot of Tommen walking with some Kingsguard. He looks pretty distraught, and then it flashes over to Cersei with Kingsguard walking the other way, kind of giving us the impression they're kind of going to be against each other a little bit this season. And I think at some point they will, because he's going to start to resent her for what she's doing to Marjorie, assuming she continues that. Then we see a group of horses there, and notice we don't see anybody on the horses. We only see the horses and the legs of the riders. But interesting thing here is all the horses are dark in color except for one. There's a white horse there. And not that white horses are some kind of uncommon thing in our story, but you kind of think when somebody's on a white horse, they're kind of special. So this could actually be Jon riding in the battle for the North. And then we have a really quick shot of a ship at sea. So this is more than likely Euron Greyjoy. It could be the Shy Maid, which is a boat from the books that Tyrion is riding on for a time being in the Young Griff storyline, but that's not even been in the show at all. And for you show only watchers, Young Griff is a character in the books who claims to be the real Aegon Targaryen that survived the sack of King's Landing during Robert's Rebellion. But his storyline has not even been in the show at all, so I'm assuming this is probably Euron Greyjoy during a storm. So then we flash over to a shot of Arya, and she's getting her damn teeth knocked out by the waif, the girl that's always with Jack and Nagar on the show. And this may be part of her training. I don't know yet by this picture or by this quick scene if she has her sight back yet, although she will get her sight back. But for a while, she'll continue to train as a faceless man, but eventually she will kind of peel off and become Arya Stark again and hopefully get back home to Westeros and find her direwolf Nymeria. So then we see the master of everything, Littlefinger, again. He's back. He looks to be in the north just due to the snow, and this could be a run-in with Sansa. It's hard to say. Obviously, he's just standing there, so there's not much to deduce from it. It's only a guess. But at some point, him and Sansa will cross paths again, and she's not going to be a happy camper. And then we see a quick shot of Marjorie turning around. It looks like at this point she's still in the cells being held by the Faith Militant. Now this next shot is really interesting. It shows somebody riding through the haunted forest, it looks like, up north, and swinging something on a rope, something on fire. Some people were speculating that this could be Cold Hands. Now for you show only watchers, Cold Hands is a character in the books only who's an accomplice of Bloodravens who actually helps Bran get to Bloodraven and helps Sam and Gilly get south of the wall, but he cannot pass through the wall because he is a white but seems to have memories of being a Night's Watch member. In the books he rides an elk, so this is a horse. They could be putting him in the show to help out Bran in some way, shape, or form and just exchange the elk for a horse. I don't really see that happening. I would like for Cold Hands to be in the show, but I don't think at this point there's really a reason to do that. And next we see a shot of the battle in the north, the battle for Winterfell perhaps, and this looks to be Bolton men. You can see the Flayed Man banner in the background, and you see archers, because it looks like the true Northerners are finally coming, and by Northerners I mean wildlings behind Jon Snow. Then there's a quick shot of the pyramids being blown up. I don't think they had TNT back in those days, so I think this may be a dragon flying by and starting to tear shit up, because in the books Rhaegal and Viserion are loose and they do make their homes in the pyramids themselves and start tearing shit up in Meereen. Then we have a quick shot of Theon turning around. This is probably when he's escaping with Sansa before they get to wherever they're going. And I said this in one of our prediction videos about Sansa, that Theon and Sansa would probably be hunted down by Bolton men during their escape and will probably be rescued by Brienne. So this looks to be where Reek hears some Bolton men coming. And then we finally see Euron Greyjoy. This is going to be the new king of the Iron Islands, and this is him getting apparently baptized by his brother Damphair, like I mentioned earlier during the King's Moot. Then it goes back to Jaime and Cersei, and apparently Twin says to still on at least one more time, but he's probably thinking about Brienne. And speaking of Brienne, the next shot is Brienne killing Bolton men. Exactly like I just said a minute ago, I think that during their escape, Theon and Sansa run into Bolton men and get rescued by Brienne, so that's probably what she's doing, and she will probably swear her sword to Sansa and become her protector, like she should have done in the first damn place. And then we see who I believe to be Melisandre looking at her fires again. This may actually be the shot where she goes back to her flames and tries to give it one more shot and sees the truth, or at least interprets it right this time, and then realizes from this shot here that she can resurrect Jon Snow, and he is the prince who was promised, Azor Ahai, whatever in the hell you want to label him, and she was with the wrong dude the whole time. A quick shot of the House of Black and White. Melisandre again trying to seduce somebody, and I'm trying to think of who she would try to seduce here. But if you look at her face, she doesn't look too happy about what she's doing, where before she's always, smiling and really seductive. She kind of looks worried about it. She may actually not be seducing anybody at all because of the look on her face. This may be some kind of ritual she has to perform that has something to do with Jon Snow and his resurrection. Or should I say Jon Stark. And then we see a shot of Jon's actual body laying there, where either Davos or one of his other companions from the Night's Watch is actually closing his eyes. And this is probably after they bring him in and may or may not realize what's going on yet with Melisandre. It kind of depends on the timing there, if she already knows what she's supposed to be doing, who he really is, etc. So if he's moved inside, more than likely they already know, because more than likely here they're protecting his body from the Night's Watch, who want to burn it so he doesn't come back as a white. Then the next shot I believe is Arya doing some training over in Bravo. So again, she will continue to train as a faceless man for a while, although eventually she will kind of splinter off and become Arya again and head back to Westeros and join her wolf pack. Then we jump back to another scene from the Battle of the North. We see the Flayed Man shields here. It's kind of hard to see obviously, but the people on the right don't look to be wearing helmets or armor, that type of thing, so you would assume these would be wildlings. But then again, there is some kind of banner flying there, so perhaps they're fighting beside some other houses that do fly banners, like the Umbers or Karstarks or other northern houses that get behind the Starks again to bring them back where they're supposed to be. And then we see a hot shot of two ladies here getting it on, and it looks like the girl on the bottom is Yara Greyjoy, I believe. But this was the Red Band trail, they had to spice it up a little bit. And then we see a shot here of Euron Greyjoy. Now this is something that came out of the book, slightly different. He is on a bridge, and this is going to be probably when he kills his brother Balon. So this has to be before the King's Moot, because the King's Moot only takes place after Balon's death. So he's going to push him off this bridge. Now it's believed in the books Euron hired a faceless man to assassinate Balon so he could become king, but it looks like the show is going to go a simpler route and just have him actually do it himself. Then we go to a pretty damn epic shot here. This is going to be the Tower of Joy flashback here. You can see someone wearing Targaryen armor. Now in the flashback in the books, when we talk about the Tower of Joy, you have three members of the Kingsguard. That is Sir Arthur Dayne, who carries the sword Dawn. He was called the Sword of the Morning. Then you have Gerald Hightower, and you also have Oswald Went. I don't know if in the show they're going to particularly name these characters and who they are, or they're just going to be presented as, general Kingsguard people. But this guy is dual wielding here. Now I don't know if they mean for this to be Sir Arthur Dayne Dane or one of the other ones that were mentioned in the books, but it looks like one of these swords is kind of white here, and the sword dome is actually made out of a meteorite. It's very similar to Valyrian steel. It's a very special sword. Whoever carries this sword in House Dane has to be given this sword, has to be worthy of this sword. This sword has to be earned. So I'm not saying this is Sir Arthur Dane, but if you look at this sword, he's double wielding, because these were some badass knights back in the day. This one kind of looks white and pale. Now, of course, this is in the sun. There is blood on the end of the sword, so it could be just a contrast there with the light, but it does look like a pale sword. So this could potentially be Sir Arthur Dane, although I don't know if they will name him. Then we see a shot of Tormund Giantsbane. It looks like during the Battle of the North, he is again behind Jon Snow and his army of wildlings, because you can see the flayed men banner in the background again. So it looks like he turns around to see something that grabs his attention in this battle, and then the next shot, if you look really close and freeze this here, who could that possibly be right there in the center of the screen with the white horse? Not many people have hair like that in this story, all curly and pretty. So yeah, I think this is Jon Stark. So yeah, I think the producers definitely snuck a picture in here just for shits and giggles. They know even though people like us are going to sit there and watch these things a million times and pause them, it's still kind of blurry when you pause it, so you really can't confirm it's Jon Stark, but then again, you really can't deny it is either. Then we go back to Marjorie, and she looks like she is joining the High Sparrow, or at least confessing something to get on his good side. And I mentioned this in a predictions video, I think Marjorie will probably join the faith in a way, although she really may not believe in that shit. So this next shot is really interesting because we don't really know what the hell's going on, and of course it's interesting because we want to know what the hell's going on. It looks like we have a few random unknown people here stabbing somebody. It's hard to tell where this is. You can see the curved brick in the background, so this may be King's Landing somewhere. This is obviously somebody of importance being killed, and the only person I can think of right offhand being killed that would be killed by random people that could be essentially hired would be Kevan Lannister, because I think that Varys will leave Meereen at some point to prepare for Dany's arrival. Now again, in the books, Varys is the one who kills Kevan Lannister. Now on the show, it could be completely different, so this may be him hiring his little birds to do the deed for him. Then we see blind Arya pop her head up, and yes, she will be blind for a little bit. Now in the show, it's meant to be like a punishment apparently, because she wore a face before she was ready last season, but in the book, she becomes blind as part of her training, so she will be blind for a little while, but not the entire season. So the next shot, we have the High Sparrow coming down the steps with the Faith Militant. Looks like there's an army at his doorstep, and it looks like this is probably a Tyrell army. You can't see any particular sigils there, but it's obviously not the King's Guard, and it's obviously not the Lannister army, but they are holding Marjorie, so this is the Tyrell army. But also notice in this shot, there is a member of the King's Guard on a horse, probably trying to make peace, saying, you better let Marjorie go, otherwise these motherfuckers are coming up the steps. Then we see a shot of Sansa running here. This is probably during her and Theon's escape, probably running from Bolton men right before they find Brienne. So in the next shot, we see a Cal, probably Cal Jacko, who declared himself Cal after Cal Drogo died, and it looks like they're heading off into battle. This could be them going towards Dario and Jorah, perhaps, if they do find Dany, and they are approaching, so they could be heading off to meet them. Then we see some wildlings charging there. We know they're wildlings because they're not wearing helmets, they're not carrying banners, they're just in their wildling skins. They have some kind of crude weapons here, so this is the new army in the north, probably behind Jon, heading into battle with the Boltons. And then we come to my boy Bran Stark. Boy, has he grown up. So we hadn't seen Bran since season 4. He's been going the entire time under the assumption that he's training with Bloodraven, the three-eyed crow, and he is having a vision here, probably in the land of always winter. And he's like, what the hell's going on, and where the hell am I at? But he's standing here in the vision, and he turns around and sees who apparently is the Night's King. Now, I don't know if this is the current Night's King, because this is obviously a different look, a different actor, but I don't know if this is in the past. I personally think, like Val mentioned in one of our predictions videos, this is probably what's going to happen. Perhaps this is the event that Bran mentions in the previous teaser where he says they have no idea what's going to happen. And then we have an awesome final shot of Davos grabbing Longclaw, and he says, I've never been much of a fighter, so I apologize for what you're about to see. So it looks like he and a few other Night's Watch members that are loyal to Jon are protecting his body because they know at this point that Melisandre can pull some magic out of her ass and bring Jon back. So they are apparently protecting his body from the Night's Watch people trying to get in so they can burn his body. Now this is a very cool shot, I think, because you see Ghost laying there beside Jon, and obviously Ghost didn't die, and I don't think anybody's going to have the balls to kill him. So I think he's alive here. I just think he's laying beside Jon like sad because part of him died in the books. He was a warg, although he resisted the power. So I don't think they're going to use the warging piece in the show as far as, you know, Jon's consciousness being in Ghost or anything, although it's possible, but they just never really hinted at that before in the show. Although in the books, it's very, very possible that he wargs in a ghost when he dies, and that's where his consciousness goes until his body is revived. So that's it for the trailer. I am fucking hyped about it. This trailer was badass. It's got a lot of information in it. It's got a lot of scenes in it. They put it together really, really well. They hit a few things in there for us too, I think, for us to pick apart just so they can laugh at us while we're trying to figure out what the hell's going on. So anyway, guys, that's all I had. I'm sure I missed a few things, so let me know in the comments below what you see or what I've missed. I had a lot of you guys requesting this, so I apologize. This should have been out yesterday, but this was dropped unexpectedly when we were doing edits for our prediction videos, so it was just kind of bad timing, but I'm glad they did get one out. So thanks again, guys. Appreciate all your support. Got a lot more stuff coming, including a few more predictions before the season starts. But in the meantime, you can click here for the video that Val and I did for McCall's Geek on our Season 6 brand start predictions. And you can also click here for the video we did on our Season 6 Cersei predictions. So check those out. Let us know what you think. So thanks again, guys. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.